Hello viewers, today for the initial checkout we have a rather unusual heater. This is a Fisher-Price branded heater, but it's a Patton product, a relatively old one too. It's model 1512 air heater, 12.5 amps, 1500 watts. I would date this back to the late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in that time frame. It's a very strange unit. I've never seen one like this before. It's very dusty. There's like a screen there, and it's just caked with dust. So we'll have to give it a good cleaning before we can really analyze its performance, because that's going to hinder a lot of airflow through there. The front's pretty clean. It looks like it effectively captured everything on the back. It's too bad they didn't put some kind of a filter on there that you could clean. It's got a ground fault circuit interrupter cord. It's a 3-wire cord, but it's not grounded, which is kind of weird. Prong is concerningly loose, so maybe I have to replace that cord or do something with that. This it's got a cord wrap on the back, which is kind of cool. I suspect that this was designed for use in like some kind of like a child's daycare or something like that. It's made in USA, according to the nearly invisible writing on there. And I suspect the intention was that this thing is very so-called safe. You know, the housing is much bigger than the fan and the heating element, so it's going to should stay cool to the touch, I'm sure. And then you have the ground, well, not grounding, but the extra protection. Actually, I'm not really sure how this works without grounding. That's kind of weird. I guess it doesn't need grounding to work, because like hair dryers and stuff aren't grounded, but they're still GFI. Well, anyways, it's got the controls hidden under here, so you can't mess with it. The testing button for the GFI is under there, and then the reset button is on a plug itself. No thermostat, just fan and 3 settings of heat. Looks like that's one of the hinges is busted off, but I think that could be fixed. That's probably some kind of a neon indicator light. There's definitely some irony here, at least to me, because I think plastic heaters are really, quite frankly, super dangerous, because you have an element which is hundreds of degrees an inch away from a plastic housing, which, even though I'm sure the manufacturers would make claims that it's non-flammable material, most likely would ignite and carry a flame with relative ease, especially at such high temperatures. And all it takes is for the fan motor to lock up, which is something that happens all the time with cheap motors. And you know, yes, most of them are thermally protected, but the thermal protection mechanism is also made in China, with the same lack of quality standards that the rest of the unit is made from. So I would have a hard time trusting the thermal protection switch, especially under multiple repeated cycles, which is what you would encounter in a situation where the fan motor locked up and the unit is still powered on. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and plug this thing in and see how it operates. I've used some other Patton heaters from the era. And other than being plastic, which I'm not too fond of, they seem to operate quite well, perform very nicely. So hopefully this one does so as well. Not going to do so if the power's not plugged in though. Something I probably should be aware of at this point in the game. Okay, so everything is powered on here. We're at 119.9.8 volts. Let's go over to amps. And let's turn the open the controls here. Let's check this GFI thing out. I just pressed the test button and nothing happened. I don't really see anything happening here. It doesn't seem like that's popped out. Maybe it's got to be on. Okay, it had to be on. And it's not resetting. Was this a single-use thing? Oh, for heaven's sakes. Huh, that's unbelievable. Did it really just break? No, it's just a little flaky. The mechanism here is a little bit flaky for sure. There it goes. I don't think I'll be pressing that anymore. So that works, and the fan works. It's pulling 0.19 amps, 17 watts at a power factor of 0.69, 0.74. So it's probably a shaded pole motor, one of those little two-pole circular ones. And despite all the dust, it's moving a considerable amount of air, much more than I expected it would. So that's good. It's definitely got some bearing rattle to it. I'm sure the bearings have never been cleaned. I must have some kind of a tip over switch because it did cut off. Okay, so that seems to be working correctly. And there is an indicator light there, which it does appear to be a neon indicator, not some LED thing. This tends to focus better if I just take it physically up to the thing. Okay, so that's running. It's not running great, but it's running. Let's go ahead and start the heat up. We'll go on heat 1. That's taken 4.2 amps, 4.19 amps. It is getting hot, but it's it's not hot, it's just ever so slightly warm. Probably not even 100 degrees, it's barely lukewarm, only right in the center. More than a couple inches away, it almost feels cool. Still at 4 amps. It's not putting out much of any heat for 4 amps. Heat 2. And that is 8.14 amps. 1.2 amps, 1.1 amps. About 8.1. And this is warm now. It's pretty much warm all the way across. But the heat kind of fades pretty fast. It's hard to tell really how much heat it's making because I have this other heater running. I guess I should turn it off for the video. It makes some sense. Yeah, it's very, not very effective, very ineffective. There's warm air coming out, but it's barely warm. I can't imagine this would really offer a whole lot of heat anywhere. It's moving decent air for a heater, but it's just not that hot. Okay, let's go to heat 3. And that is 12.0705040301, 12.01 amps. With a wattage of 1,411 and a power factor of 0.99, which I would expect for each of the speeds. Yeah. And it's still not that hot. I mean, I can keep my hand here and it's not really getting uncomfortable, which is probably the intention. You know, this looks like something that would be designed to be particularly safe and probably for use around children, and so one of the safeguards being that you can be up real close to it and you're not going to get a burn or anything like that. Now from a foot or two away, it does feel kind of warm. I still don't think it would do a whole lot of heating like some other units would, but this isn't too bad. Balance feels pretty good. Actually feels quite good. I don't feel much of any vibration at all. It's not bad on high. It's definitely not the most powerful heater I've used, but I'm standing a couple feet away and it is providing a nice warm output. It's not hot, but it's reasonably warm. And it's cold in here. It's only 66 degrees, so it is fighting the cold a little bit. Which of course is what a heater is supposed to do, but not bad. It's getting a little bit hotter now, but again, I can still keep my hand here, and it's hot, but it's not, you know, you're not going to get burned. This doesn't really tell much of the story, but let's see if this could give us a reading here. Try to read the surface of the guard. It's like around 150 was the highest reading, and that's hot, you know, but a lot of these other heaters will get to several hundred degrees right on the surface, and if you touch the surface, you're going to get a scalding burn. So I guess this one is safer in that sense. Let's go ahead and let it cool off, and then we'll turn the thing off. And I tend to think that once it's cleaned out, it will run even cooler, because it's a lot of airflow is blocked right now from all the dust that's on the rear guard. Just for comparative purposes, I put this other heater back on, and this is, I mean, you can't keep your hand there. It's scalding hot. You're looking at over 200 degrees on the surface there. So it does seem like it's safer for use around the children. Although I still wouldn't trust it very much being plastic. Okay. And the bearings seem like they're pretty free still, and they've got quieter. In fact, they're plenty quiet now. I don't hear any more rattle. given that this thing is probably, I would say, close to 3 decades old, and it still works just fine. Not bad. What is this? I wonder if that was originally a mechanism to get this open, and then somebody forced it open and it broke. I bet that's what it was. I suspect you had to pull that down and then open it up. I'll have to see if I could fix that, because that'd be pretty cool. Well, I guess that's it for this one. It's a pretty interesting heater. I like it more than I thought I would. So we'll definitely do a clean and service video on this and take a look at the inside and see if I can fix that lever for the control panel.